Let's try this again, shall we? Hello everyone, Little Skeleton Wizard, and here. And today I'm going to be reading chapter 3 of The Twisted Ones. If you haven't seen chapter 2, go back and watch that. There's another video titled this, but it cut off abruptly, and it wasn't the end of the chapter. So I'm gonna take off my bookmark, and we're going to start. And this one has, so we're going from page 42 to 67. So it's about, I would say, 25 pages. Yeah, 25 pages. You got this. Alright. Charlie checked her watch. She was on time to meet John. Even early. She passed under the streetlight and looked down at herself, checking her clothes. Oh no. The knees of her jeans were wet with mud, and there was a dark stain where she had wiped her fingers clean on the dead man's blood. I can't shut up covered in blood. He sees me. He's seen me like this too many times already. She sighed and turned around. Thankfully, Jessica was gone when she got back to the room. Charlie didn't want to talk about what had just happened. Clay hadn't explicitly told her to keep it secret. Fairly sure she shouldn't broadcast her private visit to the crime scene. Charlie cast a glance at the faces under their pillowcase cover, but didn't go to them. She wanted to show her project to John, but like Jessica, he might not understand. She opened the dresser drawer and stared down at the contents without registering them. In her mind, she saw the body again, its limbs splayed out as if it had been thrown down where it lay. She covered her face with her hands, taking deep breaths. She had seen the scars, but she'd never seen the wounds of the Springlocks fresh. Now Dave's eyes came to her, the look of shock just before he fell. Charlie could feel the locks in her hands, feel them resist, then give way, and snap. That's what happened. That's what I did. She swallowed and slid her hands down to her throat. Charlie shook her head like a dog shaking off a wet coat. She looked at the open drawer again, concentrated. I needed to change. The drawer was filled with brightly colored shirts, all unfamiliar. Charlie startled, a dim panic seizing her. What is all this? She picked up a t-shirt and dropped it again. She forced herself to take a deep breath. Jessica. They're Jessica's. She opened the wrong drawer. Get it together, Charlie, she told herself sternly. And somehow it sounded like Aunt Jen's voice in her head, despite everything that lay between her and her aunt. Just imagining her cold, authoritative voice made Charlie a little calmer. She nodded to herself and grabbed what she needed, a clean t-shirt and jeans. She dressed hurriedly, then left to meet John. Her stomach fluttered, half excited and half sick. A date, she thought. What if it doesn't go well? Worse, what if it does? As she neared the Thai restaurant, she saw that John was already there. He was waiting outside, but he didn't look impatient. He didn't spot her right away, and Charlie showed her pace for movement, watching him. He seemed at ease, gazing into the middle distance with a vague, pleasant expression. He had the air of confidence he hadn't possessed as a year ago. It wasn't that he had been unsure of himself then, but now he looked adult. Maybe it was because he'd gone straight to work after high school. Maybe it was what happened last year at Freddy's. Charlie thought with an unexpected sense of envy. Although she'd moved out on her own to a new home and a new college, she felt as if the experience had left her more a child, not less. Not a cared for or protective child, but one who was vulnerable and unmoored. A child who had looked under the bed and seen monsters. John noticed her and waved. Charlie waved back and smiled, the expression unforced. Date or not, it was good to see him. How was your last class? He said by the way of greeting, and Charlie shrugged. I don't know. It was class. How was the rest of work? He grinned. It was work. Are you hungry? Yes, Charlie said decisively. They headed inside and, and were motioned to a table. Have you been here before? John asked. Charlie shook her head. I don't get out much, she said. I don't even come out to town that often. The college is sort of its own little world, you know? I can imagine, John said cheerfully. Now that the secret was out, he wasn't in school. Apparently she'd sorry. Now that the secret was out that he wasn't in school, he'd apparently shed his earlier discomfort. Isn't it a little bit he searched for the words. Doesn't it feel a little isolated? Not really, Charlie said. If it's a prison, it's not one of the worst. I didn't mean to compare it to a prison, John said. So, come on. What are you studying? Charlie hesitated. There was no reason not to tell John, but it seemed too soon, too risky to announce that she was eagerly following in her father's footsteps. She didn't want to tell him she was studying robotics until he had some idea of how he would respond, just like with her project. English, math, most colleges make you do a set of classes your first year. English, math, everything like that, she said, hoping it would sound like a response. Suddenly Charlie didn't want to talk about school. She wasn't sure she could keep up on a conversation about anything, really. She looked at John for a moment, imagined the spring-lock wounds in his neck. Her eyes widened, and she bit the inside of her cheek, trying to ground herself. Tell me about your job, she said, and saw her own hesitation mirrored on his face. I mean, I like work, he said. More than I thought I would, actually. There's something about doing physical labor that kind of frees my mind. It's like a meditation. It's hard, though. Really hard. Construction workers always make it look so easy, but it takes a while to build up that kind of muscle. He stretched his arms out comically over his head, and Charlie laughed, but couldn't help but noticing he was clearly well on his way to that kind of muscle. John leaned into his left and gave his armpit a quick sniff, then made a look of mock embarrassment. Charlie looked down at her menu and giggled. You already know what you want? She said. Then the waitress appeared out of nowhere, as if she'd been listening nearby. John ordered, and Charlie froze. She'd said it just to say something, but she didn't know what to get. Suddenly, she noticed the prices. Everything on the menu was impossibly expensive. She hadn't even thought about money when she accepted John's invitation, but now her mind jumped to her wallet and her nearly empty bank account. Misreading her expression, John leaped in. If you've never had Thai food, pad Thai is good, he suggested. I should have asked, he said awkwardly. If I'm buying a lady dinner, I should make sure she likes the food. He looked embarrassed, but Charlie was flooded with relief. Buying a lady dinner. No, I'm sure I'll like it, she said. Pad Thai. Thanks, she told the waitress, then gave John a mock glare. Who are you calling a lady? She said playfully, and he laughed. What's wrong with that? It just sounds like you're calling me a lady, Charlie said. So anyway, what do you do all day besides meditate? Well, the days are long, and like I said, I'm still writing, so there's that. It's strange being in Hurricane again, though. I didn't mean to put down roots. Put down roots? Like join a bowling team or something, ties to the community, things like that. Charlie nodded. She, of all people, understood the need to remain apart. Why did you take the job here, then? She asked. I know they needed people because of the storm, but you didn't have to come, right? People are still building things in other places. That's true, he admitted. To be honest, it was more about getting away from where I was. Sounds familiar, Charlie muttered, too softly for him to hear. The waitress returned with their food, and Charlie took a quick bite of the rice noodles and immediately burned her mouth. She got the water glass and drank. Yikes! That's hot! She said. So, what were you getting away from? He asked, question casually, as if the answer would be simple. Do you have nightmares too? She held back the words, waiting for him to speak. John hesitated. Girl, actually, he said. He paused, searching for a reaction. Up chewing. That wasn't all the answer she'd been expecting. She swallowed, nodding with self-conscious enthusiasm. After an excruciating silence, John went on. We started dating the summer after Freddy's. I told her I wasn't looking for anything serious, and said she wasn't either. Then suddenly, it was 6 months later, and we were serious. I had just started working. I had moved out on my own, and had grown up and had this grown-up relationship. It was a shock, but a good one, I guess. He stopped, not sure whether he should continue. Charlie wasn't sure she wanted to give him permission. So, tell me about her, she said calmly, avoiding eye contact. I'm not dating her, but it's not like she's dead. Her name's Rebecca. She's pretty, I guess. Smart. She's a year older than me and a college student studying English. Has a dog. So yeah, she was alright. What happened? Don't know, he said. Really? Charlie said drearily, and he smiled. No, I felt on guard around her. Like there were things I couldn't tell her. Things she'd just never understand. It wasn't because of her. She was great, but she knew I was holding something back. She didn't know what it was. I wonder if it could have been what it could have been, Charlie asked quietly. The question was rhetorical. They both knew the answer. John smiled. Well, anyways, she broke up with me. And then I was devastated. Blah, blah, blah. Actually, I don't think I was that devastated. John looked down, focusing on his food, but not touching it. Have you ever tried to tell anyone about Freddy's? John glanced back up and pointed his fork at Charlie. She shook her head. It wasn't just what happened. And he went on. I can't imagine telling that story and having her believe me. But it was the only thing. But it wasn't only that. I wanted her to know all the facts of it, but more. I wanted to tell her what it did to me, how it changed me. It changed all of us, Charlie said. Yeah, and not just last year. From the beginning. I didn't realize it until after we'd gone back. Like how much the place had just followed me. He glanced at Charlie. Sorry, it must be even weirder for you. Charlie stroked uncomfortably. Maybe it's just different. Her head on the table beside her water glass, and now John reached out to touch it. She stiffened, and he drew back. Sorry, he said. I'm sorry. It's not you, Charlie said quickly. His dead face, the dead skin of his throat. She had barely noticed it at the time, overwhelmed by the whole experience. But now, the feeling of touching him right now, she could feel his skin, slack and cold and slick with blood. She could feel the blood on her fingers. She rubbed her hands together. They were clean. She knew they were clean, but still she could feel the blood. You're being dramatic. It'll be all right, she said. It got up before John could respond. She made her way around the tables to the bathrooms at the back of the restaurant. It was a 3-stall bathroom thing. Charlie went straight up to the sink and turned the hot water on full blast. She pumped soap onto her hands, scrubbed them for a long time. She closed her eyes and focused on the feeling of hot water and soap. And slowly the memory of blood faded. As she dried her hands, she looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked wrong somehow. Off, as if it wasn't herself she saw, but a copy, someone else dressed as her. Get it together, Charlie, she thought, trying to hear the words in Aunt Jen's voice. As she had before, she closed her eyes. Get it together. When she opened them again, she was back in the mirror. Her reflection was her own. Sorry, it's really uncomfortable in this chair reading like this. Charlie smoothed her hair and went back out to the table, where John was waiting for her with a concerned expression. Is everything okay? He asked nervously. Did I do something? Charlie shook her head. No, of course not. It's been a long day. There's an understatement. She glanced at her watch. Do we still have time for a movie? She asked. It's almost 8:30. Yeah, we should go, John said. Are you done? Yeah, it was really good. Thank you. She smiled at him. The lady liked it. John smiled back, visibly relaxing. He went to the counter to pay, and Charlie went outside, waiting for him on the sidewalk. Dark had fallen, and there was a chill in the air. Charlie wished briefly that she'd thought to bring a sweatshirt. John joined her after a moment. Ready? Yep, Charlie said. Where are we going? Where is it? Sorry. He looked for a moment and shook his head. The movie was your idea, remember? He laughed. Like I said, I don't get out much. Charlie looked down at her feet. The theater's only a few blocks away. They walked in silence for a while. Next page, please. Thank you. Okay. I found out what happened to Freddy's, she said without thinking, and John looked at her surprised. Really? What happened? They were tearing it down. Then the storm came, and everyone got called away. Now it's just standing there, half collapsed. All the stuff is gone, though, she added, seeing the question in John's eyes. I don't know what they did with them. It was a lie. Charlie couldn't tell him what had really happened without telling him how she knew. All those questions had led it back to the same place, the dead man in the field. Who were you? What about your father's house? John asked. Did you ask your Aunt Jen about it? What's you going to do with it? I don't know, Charlie said. I haven't talked to her since August. She fell silent, not looking at John as they walked. They reached their destination, a shabby one-screen movie theater named Grand Palace. Its name was either ironic or wishful thinking. Emblazoned on the marquee was the current showing, Zombie vs. Zombies. I think it's about a joke, as they went inside. The movie had already started. Someone on screen was screaming as what were apparently zombies came at her from all sides. She was surrounded. The creatures crouched like wild dogs, ready to spring and devour her. They moved to attack, and the man grabbed her arm, pulling her to safety. Hi, baby. My dog just walked in. The cutest little puppy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay, we should continue. Charlie, John touched her arm, whispering, over there. She gestured to the back row. The place was half full, but the back row was empty, and they made their way furtively into the middle. They sat, and Charlie turned her attention to the screen. Thank goodness, she thought. Maybe I could finally relax. She settled back in her seat, letting the image on the screen blur past her. Shrieks, gunfire, and thrumming music filled the silence between them. In the corner of her eye, she saw John glance at her nervously. Charlie focused her attention on the movie. The main character, a man and a woman, were generic, angular good looks of a big woman and with generic angular looks of the big screen. Were shooting automatic weapons into a crowd of zombies. As the first ranks were stopped, though severed in half by guns, and they still twitched on the ground. The ones behind them climbed over their fallen cohorts. The camera switched back to the man and woman who jumped the fence and took off running. Behind them, the zombies kept coming, struggling forward, oblivious to the undead bodies they wadded through. The music was urgent, the bass line pounding like an artificial heartbeat. and Charlie relaxed against the seat, letting herself be absorbed into it all. What was he doing there? The image of the dead man returned to her. Something about the wounds bothered her, but she hadn't been able to put her finger on it. I recognized those wounds. They all matched. I remember, but something was different. What was it? She sensed movement next to her and saw John trying to stretch her arm toward her. Really? She thought. Do you have enough room? She asked him, and scooted away without waiting for a response. Sorry, that makes me laugh. He looked embarrassed, but he glanced away, laying her elbow on the other armrest and staring fixedly on the screen. Enough room. That's it. She closed her eyes, concentrated on the image in her head. Rooms were slightly larger, more spaced out. The suit he was wearing was bigger than the suits from Freddy's. The man was probably 5'10" or 5'11", which means that the suits must have been at least 7 feet tall. On screen, there was a quiet again, but it was short-lived. Charlie watched, mesmerized, as the dirt spilled away from its own volition and moving like magic as the zombies rose. It wouldn't be like that, Charlie thought definitively. It's not that easy to get out of a grave. By now the zombie on screen was halfway out, crawling to the surface and looking around with his glassy, mindless eyes. You can't get out that fast. Charlie blinked. She shook her head, trying to stay focused. Zombies, lifeless things. The closet was full of costumes, lifeless, yet ever watching, with their plastic eyes and dead-hanging limbs. Somehow their corpse-like stares had never bothered her or Sammy. They liked to touch the fur, sometimes put it in their mouths and giggle at the funny way it felt. Some was old and matted, some new and soft. The closet, it was their place, just for the two of them, and sometimes they babbled together in words that had meaning only to them. Sometimes they played side by side, lost in separate words of make-believe. But they were always together. Sammy was playing with a truck when the shadow came. He ran back and forth on the floor, not noticing that their ribbon of light had been cut off. Charlie turned and saw the shadow, so still he could be an illusion, just another costume out of place. Then the sudden movement, the chaos of fabric and eyes. The truck clanked and fell to the floor, and then the dark so complete that she began to believe that she never been at all. The memories of sight had only been a dream, a trick of the other blackness. As she tried to call his name, she could feel him nearby, but all around were solid walls. Can you hear me? Sammy, let me out. Sammy! But he was gone. He was never there again. Charlie, are you okay? What? Charlie looked at John. She realized she'd pulled her feet up on the chair and hugged her knees to her chest. She sat back, setting her shoes back on the floor. John gave her a concerned look. I'm fine, she whispered, and gestured to the screen. John put a hand on her forearm. Are you sure you're okay? He asked. Charlie stared straight ahead. Now there were people running, the zombies lurching after them. This doesn't make sense, Charlie muttered mostly to herself. What? John leaned toward her. Charlie didn't move, but she repeated it. It doesn't make sense. Zombies don't make sense. If they're dead, the central nervous system is shot. And they can't do any of this if their functioning central nervous system, which has somehow decayed to the point of movement thought are possible, but severely hindered. Fine. If it makes them violent, fine. But why would they want to eat brains? It doesn't make sense. That man wouldn't have been able to walk on his own when the suit was so oversized. He didn't walk into the field. The suit did. The animatronic was carrying him inside of its own accord. Almost done, guys. Almost done. Literally 10 more pages. We're good. Maybe it's symbolic. John suggested, eager to engage, however odd the conversation. You know, like the idea that you eat your enemy's heart to gain their power. Maybe the zombies eat the enemy's brain to gain its central nervous system? He glanced at Charlie, but she was only half listening. Okay, she said. She'd been irritated by the movie. Now she was irritated by the conversation, and she herself had introduced. I'll be right back, she told John, and got up without waiting for him to respond. She made her way out of the well, through the lobby, and out the door. On the sidewalk, she took a deep breath and felt an intense relief at the wash of fresh air. Dreams about being trapped are common, she reminded herself. She'd looked it up when they began. They were only slightly less common than dreams about showing up to class naked and plummeting from a great height, or having your teeth suddenly fall out. But this didn't feel like a dream. Charlie jostled her thoughts back to the present, where even the crime scene of the gruesome murder seemed like a safer place to keep them. There must be tracks. He didn't walk there by himself. There must be some clue of what carried him to the field and where he came from. Charlie shivered. She went back inside the building. John's going to think I'm nuts. She arrived swinging at the swinging theater doors and stopped. She couldn't do it. She had to know there was a young man in a concession stand. She asked him if if the place had a payphone. He pointed silently to his right, and Charlie went fishing in her pockets for a quarter and for Chief Burke's card. She dialed it carefully, pausing between the numbers to check the card out again, as if the writing might have changed since she looked. Clay Burke answered on the third ring. Burke. Clay? It's Charlie. Charlie, what's wrong? He said, instantly alert. Charlie could picture him leaping to his feet, ready to run. Nothing. I'm fine, she assured him. Everything's okay. I just wanted to see if you found anything else. Not so far, Dylan. Okay. Burke let the silence stretch between them, and Charlie finally broke. Is there anything else you can tell me? I know it's confidential, but you've in this far. Please, if there's anything else you know, anything else you've found, or anything you know about the man, the victim. No, Clay said slowly. I mean, I'll let you know when I find something. Okay, Charlie said. Thanks. I'll be in touch. Okay. Charlie hung up the phone before he could say goodbye. I don't believe you, Charlie said to the phone on the wall. Theater, her eyes took a moment to adjust as she inched along the back row to her seat, carefully not to make noise. John looked at her. John looked up at her with a smile as she sat at the. Charlie smiled back with a grim determination. She settled back in her seat, then scooted over until her shoulder pressed against his. From behind her head, she heard a noise. Then he shifted, putting his arm around her shoulders. He gripped her tightly for a moment, halfway into a hug, and Charlie leaned in a little, unsure how to reciprocate. What if someone put him in the costume? Like some kind of wind-up death trap. Stuck him inside that thing. Then sent him walking until all the spring locks went off. But who would know how to do that? Why would someone do that? Did I miss anything? Charlie asked, though she hadn't paid any attention the first half of the movie anyways. It was daytime on screen. There were more people. It looked like there were more people holed up in some sort of bunker. Charlie couldn't remember which of them had been the original characters. She wriggled in her seat, John's arms around her. She relaxed, but now her arm of the seat was digging into her side. He started to move away, but she settled herself again. No, it's okay, she whispered. His arm circled her again. Just get on with it, Charlie said, flustered. John startled. Sorry, I didn't want to get too aggressive. No, not you. Oh, Charlie gestured towards the screen. They should have built a minefield around the bunker and waited for them and all to blow up. The end. I think that's actually what they do in the sequel. But we'll have to watch it for ourselves. He winked. There's another one. She sighed. When the credits started, grabbed their things and headed to the exits. When the rest of the small crowd not speaking until they got outside. On the sidewalk, they stopped. This has been quite nice, John said, sounding somehow like he meant it. And Charlie laughed, then groaned, covering her face with both hands. This has been awful. This has been in the worst state of ever. I'm sorry. Thanks for lying, though. John gave an uncertain smile. It was nice to see you, he said, with cautious levity. It's just, can we go somewhere to talk? John nodded, and Charlie started it back toward the campus, with him following behind. The quad was usually empty late at night, or at least mostly empty. There was always something walking across. Really? Yeah, bye-bye. Sorry, my dog again. Meh. Time is 12:05. Should get this done already. The night was... There was always someone walking across, some student finishing up late-night work in the lab, some couple in coast in the dark corner. Tonight was no different, and it was easy enough to find their own dark corner to talk. Charlie sat down under a tree, and John copied her, then waited for her to talk. As she stared up at the gap between the two buildings, where you could almost see the woods. Finally, he prompted her. So what's up? Right. She met his eyes. Clay came to see me today. John's eyes widened, but didn't say anything. He took me to see a body. Charlie went on. He decided one of the mascot costumes. John was frowning. She could almost see his thoughts, working through what this meant, and why it involved Charlie. That's not all. Clay told me that they found blood in the main dining room at Freddy's. Fake blood. John's head jerked up. You think Dave's alive? Charlie shrugged. Clay didn't come out and say it, but all those scars he had survived the Scott costume before. He must have known how to escape the building. And it didn't look to me like he escaped, John said doubtfully. He could have faked it. It would certainly explain the blood. So, what then? Dave is alive and stuffing people into Springlock suits and killing them? If I could just go back to the restaurant one more time to make sure that Charlie stopped, suddenly aware of the growing anger on John's face. Make sure what? Yes, certainly. Nothing. Clay has it under control. Everything is best. When left with the police. She glanced her jaw, gazing out over the horizon. Jessica will go with me. Right, John said with a surprised look. Right, you're right. Charlie nodded with forced enthusiasm. Clay has men, and for this sort of thing, she continued with a frowned brow. I'm sure they'll are on top of it. John took Charlie's shoulder lightly. I'm sure it's not what you think it is anyways. Hey, he said in a hearty, reassuring tone. There's a lot of crime in this world, and it doesn't involve self-imploding in furry robot suits. He laughed, and Charlie forced a smile. Come on, John extended his hand and Charlie took it. I'll walk you to your dorm. I appreciate the gesture, she said, but Jessica's there. We have to go through the whole reunion, you know. John laughed. Okay, I'll save you from Jessica and her relentless camaraderie. Word! Charlie grinned. My hero. Well, where are you staying anyway? Little motel you stayed at last year, actually. John said. I'll see you tomorrow, maybe? Charlie nodded and watched him go. And then started on her own way home. Excruciating though the date had been. And the last half hour felt like a homecoming. It was her and John again. They were familiar again. Good old-fashioned murder, she said aloud. And a woman walking her dog gave Charlie an odd look as she passed in the opposite direction. I was at a movie, Zombie vs. Zombies, Charlie called half-heartedly. After retreating back, you should go check it out. They don't put mines around the bunker. Spoiler alert. Charlie had to have hoped Jessica would be asleep, but the lights were on when she reached the room. She flung open the door before Charlie had her key out of her pocket. Her face flushed. So? Jessica demanded. So what? Charlie asked, grinning in spite of herself. Hey, before you start into this, I need to ask you something. So, you know what? Jessica cried, ignoring her question. Tell me about John. How did it go? Her mouth twitched. Oh, you know, she said casually. Listen, I need you to go somewhere with me in the morning. Charlie! Jessica moaned exaggeratedly and flopped back on her bed. Then she sprang back up to the position. Come here and tell me. Charlie sat, drawing her legs up under her. It was weird, she admitted. I didn't know what to say. They just seemed so uncomfortable. But about what I was saying. But it's John! Shouldn't that overweigh the date part? Well, it didn't, Charlie said. She looked at the floor. She could tell her face was red, and suddenly she wished she hadn't told Jessica anything at all. Jessica put her hand on Charlie's shoulders and looked at her seriously. You are amazing, and if John isn't just falling all over himself for you, that's his problem. I was just looked at the next page and like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Charlie giggled. I think he kind of is. It's part of the problem. But there's something else. If you would just listen for a second. Oh, there's more. Charlie laughed. Sorry, Jessica laughed. Charlie, you need to save something for the second date, you know. What? No. I need you to go somewhere with me in the morning. Charlie, I have a lot going on right now. I have exams. I need you. Charlie clenched her jaw for a moment. I need you to come help me. You pick new clothes for my next date, she said carefully, then waited for Jessica would believe her. Charlie, are you kidding me? We'll go first thing in the morning. She jumped up and gave Charlie a big hug. We'll have a girls' day out. It will be amazing. Jessica flopped back on her bed. Sleep for now, though. It won't bother you if I work on my project for a while, will it? No, not at all. Jessica waved limply. Then went still. Charlie turned on the lamp. A single bright beam that focused enough to not illuminate the whole room. She uncovered the faces. They were at rest, the features smooth as if in sleep. But she didn't turn them on yet. The switches that made them move and talk were only one part of the whole. There was another component. The part that made them listen was always on. Everything that she and Jessica said, every word spoken in the room, outside the window, or even the hall, they heard, went into their databases. Not only a single word, but in all its configurations as they emerged. Each new piece of information was stuck to the piece of the information most like it. Everything new was built on something old. They were always learning. Charlie turned on the component that allowed them to speak. Their features rippled softly, as if they were stretching themselves. I know, said the first, more quickly than usual. So what? Said the second. Know what? You know, so what? Know what? Now what? What now? Know how? Why now? Let us switch them off, staring at as the fans and slowed to a stop. It didn't make sense. She looked at her watch. It was about 3 hours too late for bed. She changed quickly and climbed under the sheets, leaving the faces uncovered. There was something unnerving about their exchange. It was faster than it had ever been, and it was nonsensical, but there was something that rang familiar. It struck her. "Are you playing a game?" she asked. They couldn't answer. They just stared blankly into each other's eyes. All right, that. Oh gosh, ow my butt. Sorry, I was sitting really weirdly. That was chapter 3. If you like that chapter, go ahead and make sure you watch the first chapter, like the second chapter before you watch this one. But if you like this chapter, put in the comments if you want to hear me read the next one. Anyways, goodbye, Rainbow Bracelet, I guess. I'm Lola Skeleton Wizard. This was chapter 3 of the Twisted Ones. Have a good night / morning, guys.